What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Game Starter Radio. Tonight, we are talking to AFK DAO, one of the members on the team. We have Ben tonight. As I understand it, AFK DAO is looking to basically expand, play to earn culture and get more games involved with play to earn that need help, right? Not every game has the capacity or the expertise behind, the team to do what you guys are trying to do. And you guys are here to help kind of bring that broader play to earn ecosystem to the masses. So Ben, if you would, correct me if I'm wrong, but let me know what you think. What part do you play on the AFK DAO team, and how are you guys looking to change play to earn gaming?
Well, first of all, Joe, I want to say thank you so much for having me on the old radio here. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Excited to have you.
And I just want to say hi to all the boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, robots and algorithms that are listening to this right now.
That's right.
Thanks for being on here and lending us your ears. Your attention is one of the most valuable assets on the planet. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
There we go. Thank you.
So yeah, let's talk about AFK DAO. Let's talk about some crypto gaming. Clearly, we're on the forefront of technology. If you're listening to this, if you're here right now, you are an early adopter and you're super cool. And just know that you're where you should be. And so my goal here is to provide as much value as humanly possible in a short amount of time. So let's do it. So AFK DAO is really tackling the problem of a lack of infrastructure when it comes to utility-based NFTs. If we think about the marketplace right now, where are we? What's going on in the world right now? There's crazy geopolitical stuff that's happening. Mm-hmm. We're filming this as of June 1st, June 2nd, 2022. So we have crazy geopolitics happening. We have crazy market things happening. And so it is difficult sometimes to step out of that and say, okay, wait, we're still on the cusp of ridiculously cool technology.
Absolutely.
And we're still in the very, very early stages of blockchain, of crypto, even of gaming as a whole, of still the internet. Internet did not become a thing, commercially viable product until in the early 90s, 1991. And so we're still very, very early on in this whole thing.
Absolutely.
And what I want everybody to really think about is the fact that technology is a one-way street. Once technology adoption happens, it does not unhappen. There is no way. Can I curse on this?
Go for it.
Okay. There's no fucking way we are ever going to go back to horses from cars.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. That's not going to happen unless there's a nuclear apocalypse.
Right.
And so thinking about that, let's now think of this term, the metaverse. Let's clear this up real quick because people spend way too much time debating this, and it's not that important to spend that much time arguing about it. Like, the metaverse is just the internet. Mm-hmm. It is a rebrand of the internet, and people want to skew how you think about things to their own benefit. So somebody that's trying to take advantage of the internet and trying to market themselves and position themselves as a pioneer is going to say to you that the metaverse is something new because therefore they are in a position of power and authority because they're early adopters of this new thing, and that gives them stature to your mind. We have lizard brains. It takes over. It's one of the 7 key ways that we can influence people. If you don't know those 7, you should read this book, Influence by Robert Cialdini. It will tell you how we get, as people, how we get manipulated. Authority is one of those things. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go too deep into that rabbit hole.
Sure.
But anyways, the metaverse is the internet rebranded. What people are trying to say with the metaverse is it's the next iteration of the internet, new technology. So augmented reality, virtual reality, it's really immersion, right? Right now, we interface with the metaverse with our phones, okay, with our watches, with some of us with our Oculus glasses or something. Eventually, we'll put on a contact lens or put on a little glasses or goggles, or we'll tap the little chip in our brain or something, and it's full immersion.
Right.
Okay. And so that's all that it is. It's just an acceleration and a continuation of something that's already happening. Okay. So now we've accepted that the metaverse is here. It's been here for as long as the internet, and now we're just really discovering and thinking about it in cool new ways.
Right.
And so now that we're there, now we can see how important this transition is going to be to humanity. Everything that is currently physical is going to be recreated digitally.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. We saw it happen, in a way, it's like horses to cars. That was like the technology upgrade of horses is a car, right? Everything's going to happen, except it's going to go from analog to digital. Crypto is the money version of that. So things are going to get better. So everything's happening. So we're in a massive state of transition. It's like the Industrial Revolution. A lot of things changed. There are cycles of things. There's like a huge spurt of innovation, and then it may plateau for a little bit, and then a huge spurt of it. So we're in one of those huge upswings and upticks right now. A lot of smart people, a lot of money's coming into the spot. And so let's think about what builds the metaverse. Well, if there's any sort of space, which metaverse is just digital space, it's the internet, it's all one thing. Well, you have to have property within that space in order for there to be any sort of building blocks to build anything on top of, unless you just want to accept the fate of like the Facebooks out there who they want to create something where they own everything and you own pretty much nothing, is my best guess. Obviously, we haven't seen that to its, its logical conclusion, but based on past history, that's what okay. So everything has to be built, and property and property rights are really a foundational building block of this digital space and of the metaverse.
Right.
So now we've reached the state where NFTs are really important, because that is a way to have property and property rights within the metaverse. There are other ways, but this is one of the critical ones.
Sure.
And now we have to ask ourselves a question. Well, what sort of property is the most valuable? A piece of property that does nothing, or a piece of property that has a lot of utility to it, that could do things besides just be there? Because being there is important. Being there plus, it's better.
Sure.
At least in theory, it's better. And so that being there plus, meaning an NFT with utility-based NFT, that's what we're trying to solve for. That's what we're building infrastructure around. And what we've seen as the highest and best use case right now is in the gaming sector.
Right. And
I got to say, that's really lucky for me, because I'm a gamer through and through.
There we go.
I keep, this is always by my desk. I've got the GameCube right by my desk.
What are you currently grinding right now?
I mean, there's a period in my life, early 2021, crazy shit happened to me personally, and I decided I refuse to do anything that I don't like. And I quit everything that I was doing, and I decided to become a professional gamer. And I gamed so fucking hard, 12 to 15 hours a day, every single day, that I hurt my wrists.
That's insane.
And so now I can't grind as hard on like, the stuff that I want to do.
Sure.
So I might play like some auto battlers, like, things where I can like be more strategic and set things up, but I don't have to sit there and like, just mash buttons all day.
You play TFT?
I love TFT. That's
awesome, man. Me too.
So much fun. So much fun.
Cool. Well, we'll have to grind together sometime, man.
Can't wait. And so, to come back to what we were talking about. So gaming is really where we're seeing the most benefit of play to earn, or utility-based NFTs, in the form of play to earn, play and earn. It's a whole nother conversation. Play to earn NFTs, where the utility of the NFT is the cash flow, is the ability to play the game and to generate cash flow from that NFT. I actually happen to think that is a tremendous utility. I mean, that's the ultimate utility. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? And so what's cool about it is it has given birth to this huge wave of gaming, and everybody loves to game, whether even my mom, who has never touched a controller, a GameCube or Xbox or PlayStation controller ever, she still plays that text twist game on the computer where she's typing in the words and trying to match the different letters.
Right.
In the board games. Everybody loves gaming in some
Mm-hmm.
way, shape, or form. It's a part of us. And so what's awesome is I've been a gamer since I was 6 years old. And so now what we're seeing in crypto is, and if you look at DApp Radar, you can see the most user counts by sector. And you see the number one sector is gaming,
Mm-hmm.
transaction volume, and user count. And by the way, that's including DeFi. And think of how much of a head start DeFi had.
Oh yeah.
On gaming. He's already caught up and already way exceeded. So it's here and it's coming at the same time. And it's
the size of investors that DeFi has, right? The big money movers that are in DeFi,
Totally.
That's crazy.
And so they're in DeFi and they would love to be participating in GameFi. A lot of them don't know how. Mm-hmm. They're used to the DeFi structure. And so I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of the infrastructure we're bringing to utility-based NFTs is the DeFi infrastructure that we saw worked really, really well.
Right.
And so, okay, so let me drive it home. I know a long time to answer this question.
You're good, man. You're good.
But I want to really build, I want to build the foundation so we can all be on the same page. And so, and also these are important things. Like if these are things that are new to you, dig into this stuff.
Start learning, right?
Start learning it. Go hard in it. Mm-hmm. Like there are very few things that I have ever come across in my entire life that have been this, like we're on the cusp of so many different things, such a big transition, and you're living it right now. You gotta know what's going on. You gotta at least pay attention, right?
Right. Well, so, that's definitely my aspect too, where it's like there's risks to it all, but I'm willing to make those mistakes and take some risks and lose some money right now because I know that there's every mistake you make, you're learning for something that's, like you said, is gonna be revolutionary across the world, and it's worth getting in, making mistakes, getting messy, and for the opportunity of like you were saying, for opportunity of potentially a lifetime.
That's right, and it's super fun.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we're talking about a lot of it's gaming,
right?
It's fun. Fun's built in. That's table stakes for it to survive. Okay. What we're talking about is in the metaverse, the building blocks are going to be NFTs because that's property. Utility-based NFTs are king. And the highest and best use case of utility-based NFTs right now is in the gaming sector, specifically crypto gaming, where it can generate cash flow in the form of tokens within that game. And so let's talk about how that actually happens and how it happens at scale. So what's happening is initially people come in and they have to buy the NFTs and then they play and earn with those NFTs. Inevitably, there are people who have capital to purchase the NFTs and there are people who do not have the capital to purchase NFTs. Now, let's talk about the people that have the capital. Most of those people are going to be looking at that as an investment and they're going to want to buy that NFT. And they're going to want it to be generating cash flow for them, but they're not going to want to put in the time and effort to do it themselves. And so now this gives rise to the scholarship program. Okay. And this has been a huge step forward for the people. For all of us, all of us, because essentially what the scholarship model is, and I apologize if it seems like I'm dumbing it down. I have to build the foundation in a way that everybody, even somebody who doesn't know anything, can come with us on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Discussion. So scholarship model is somebody has an NFT, but no time to play and earn with the NFT. They meet somebody who has time to and wants to play and earn with the NFT, but doesn't have enough capital to purchase it. So the owner of the NFT wants to rent out their NFT to the gamer who can play and earn. And then there's a rev share. So the owner gets to generate income and the player gets to generate income. And it's a win for everybody. And by the way, for the game, they want their NFTs to be played with. They design them and built them because they want those things to be in the game doing whatever it is that it does in the game. If you have a game based on and all the NFT race cars are necessary to race, and you need a critical mass of players for it to be fun and not to have 8-hour wait times. You don't want the NFTs to be sitting on the proverbial shelves. You want them to be in the game racing. Burn that digital rubber.
Absolutely.
Burn it good. And so this gets right to the scholarship model. People started figuring this out. And then people started building businesses around the scholarship model. And we have guilds. And this is where guilds come from. And they basically will accumulate capital. Well, there are two types of guilds. They're asset heavy guilds, and there are player heavy guilds. But essentially, guilds come together, they accumulate capital, they purchase NFTs, they rent them out to players. That's the model. But some guilds have more capital and NFTs than they do players. These are rare. Mostly they don't exist. Most guilds have a lot of players, but not enough NFTs. So for the asset heavy ones, they face a problem because they have more NFTs than players. And so they have oversupply of NFTs, which means some of them are sitting on the shelves,
right?
The digital shelves, proverbially we're speaking. The player heavy guilds are the ones that they have more players than NFTs. So some of their players don't get the ability to play and earn. And so both of them face a problem. It's a separate problem, but it's a problem. Okay, let me outline a few other problems in the space, and then I'm going to tie it all together and tell you how we fix it. And
Please.
why it's critical that we do it in this way.
That sounds perfect.
So we talked about the guilds and the problems they're facing, and that also includes the players, because the players either they have the capital to play and earn on their own, in which case they're kind of an outlier, and they're not that many of them, or they want to play but they don't have the capital, in which case they're going to go to a guild most times, most likely. So they want to participate in the scholarship program. So that's included when I say guilds. Then you have the actual game projects themselves, and the games face a variety of problems. Okay, now let's put ourselves into the shoes of a game maker. I'm a game maker. I want to make a badass game. I see how much fun everybody's having in crypto. I see the potential of all this technology. I want to go play in that arena. So I have this game idea, and now I have to build my game. So I start off, and first and foremost, I'm trying to build a fun game. Okay. Step one, 99% of people are going to fail right here.
Oh yeah.
Like right at this step, most games are not fun.
Oh yeah.
They're just not. And that's incredibly hard to build a fun game.
Right.
And I have never built a fun game on my own.
Well, it's hard enough to build a game, right? Much less now. It's another next dimension is to actually make it enjoyable, right?
Exactly. I've built a game. It was not fun. I played it and I was like, I built this thing and this is not fun at all.
Right. You're proud of it. It's fun to mess around with it. But then it's like, is someone who doesn't have any sort of emotional attachment actually going to play this, right?
Exactly. Yes. And so that's really hard. So let's assume we get past that hurdle, which is like assuming you have product market fit, which most of the time, let me put on my entrepreneur hat for a second.
Yeah.
If you're under $1 million a year in revenue, you do not have product market fit, most likely. There it is. Identify you got to match the product with the market. So if you're under $1 million, just look at that first.
Right.
Focus solely on that. Have a badass product with a great market that it's serving. Okay. Taking that hat off. So they need to get over that first hurdle. Super fucking hard. Now they have to figure out how to do that still. And then you add in blockchain development. And that's super fucking hard because you have to decide which blockchain am I going to go on? How do I build this into the game in a way that's not stupid and makes sense and there's a good reason to do it? Now I have to actually develop this stuff. And I have to bake it in with my existing tech stack.
Right.
That's hard.
And make a balanced economy, right? It's not just quick add a token. It's how does the token work? How do the burn mechanisms? What do you earn with it? Is it balanced to make it fair to how people take advantage of it or cheat it, So
that's the next step.
Right.
Those things are different.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to have blockchain development there first.
True.
Like we're talking about an on-chain game. What parts are on-chain? How does that
Yeah.
work? And then we're talking about, now we add in the crypto piece, which almost all of them do. It can be a great tool. You don't have to use it. A lot of people do. There's a lot of good things that can come out of it. Even if you don't do a coin, the NFT, it's still a token. It's a non-fungible token. You got to think about all these, right? So now we're talking about, and by the way, for play to earn, unless they're earning other NFTs, they are earning coins, in which case they do have both. And now we're talking about multiple different things here. So now they have the game maker hat on. They have the blockchain dev hat on. They have the crypto quasi-economist hat on.
Sure.
And they're still running a project, which is like running a business. So they have their entrepreneur hat on. I don't know how these people don't go fucking crazy. So they get through all these different things. And by this time, they're like, my God, we're freaking superheroes for getting through this. They literally, I wake up every day and they feel like this guy. They're like, where are the users?
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so then they find out that on top of all of that, now they have to build in the ability for, they have to build an infrastructure to handle scholarship programs and rentals of NFTs in order to onboard guilds, because if they don't onboard the guilds, they're missing out on a significant amount of capital and players. And a lot of them are just like, well, at that point. So they decide not to do it. And it's the biggest mistake that they can do. You have to be able to onboard the guilds, and you have to understand what's going on with the guilds and their problems in order to onboard them successfully. And so now we understand the issues with the games.
Right.
Well, actually, there's one more issue with the game, and I just want to lay it all out here for y'all, because this stuff's important. Okay, so let's say that they get to the point where they've built all that stuff, and now they're ready to launch their NFTs. The majority of the time when they launch their NFTs, they're going to get a bunch of speculators that come in. Okay, so they want to sell it to quality gamers, quality guilds, and GameFi investors who are going to put it back into the economy somehow, some way. Basically, they want the NFTs to be purchased and then put back into the economy to be played with.
Right.
But most of the time, that's the preferred. Most of the time, they get a bunch of speculators that come in and they pump and dump.
Right.
And either they pump so hard that they price out the people who are rational and want to be there a long time, or they dump so hard that the community loses faith and they're like, I'm out of here.
Right.
Bye. Or potentially both at different times. Huge issue for the games. Huge issue for the games.
Right.
So let's pause on the game for a second. Let's go back to the guild. So you're a guild and you're seeing this new game come up, and this new game's doing their launch. And you're saying to yourself, wow, that looks really cool. I want to play this game. I want my players to be exposed to this game, but I have to make a decision now, an extra decision. And I have to make this decision for every game that I see out there. The decision is, if I'm going to go into that game, do I have to now find capital to allocate to purchase the NFTs of that game in order to be able to play? And the answer inevitably is yes. You do have to put out that capital.
Right.
And so now guilds have to think of themselves as basically fund managers. They're managing assets. They're asset allocators.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, investing is super fucking hard. No matter what anybody tries to tell you, oh, just put your money into index funds and you'll compound over the, no, like, it's hard to do a really good job consistently over time. I've been investing since I was 16. I fucked up a lot. I've made money. I've lost money. I made money, etc. It's hard. Okay. So these guild folks are now trying to do multiple things. And so the thing is, when they're thinking about whether or not to invest in a game, it's the capital most of the time is the constraint they're thinking about, but it's also the time, because they want to train their players to be really good at the game. And if they're putting in capital, they also need to put in their time to train the players to play really well to maximize their earnings. And so if they have to make this decision for every new game that pops up, and there's like 10 trillion of them a day that are popping up because of the, the big metaverse way, how do they make that decision in a good way?
Right.
Because if they make the wrong decision, they lose capital. And if they do that enough times, then they're out of business. Bye-bye. But they're forced to make that decision because if they're too reliant on any one game, if they have too much concentration of revenue coming from one game. So for example, let's say 90% of their revenue comes from Axie, and Axie changes rules. Well, they could be fucked and go out of business. So they're forced to diversify, even though they may not want to. And so they have to make these decisions. Okay. So that's a huge issue for them. So it seems like everybody's in pain here, and it's, it's a big struggle.
So what you're saying is there's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems.
There's a lot of challenges here.
Now let me add on one last layer of complexity.
Yeah.
Because God knows we need more of that, right? So now let's think about the actual scholarship model itself. You own an NFT. You know somebody that wants to buy. You own the NFT. I want to play with the NFT. You rent it to me. I play. I kick ass because I'm a competitor and I want to win.
That's right.
Rev share happens. Everybody's happy. Okay, well, what happens if one day, because you've lent it to me, what happens if I decide to go rogue? And I'm like, all right, Joe, I'm out. I'm going to Europe. You're not going to fucking hear from me for 3 weeks. And you're like, Ben, I'm trusting you with my asset, and I need you to be out there making me money because that's my business model. And I'm like, I'm out in Europe, dude. I don't even have internet. I don't know what you're fucking I'm eating pasta. Like I'm in Italy. I'm finding the best spaghetti there's ever been. Okay. What happens if I permanently go rogue and I just steal the NFT?
Right.
Now you're extra screwed. Because now not only do you miss out on all the capital that you should have been, or the revenue, the cash flow that you should be getting every day, but then you also lose your principal because I stole the NFT. And there's nothing you can do about it because it's a blockchain, and you're fucked as the owner. Okay. So the issue of theft. Okay. So let's take a deep breath for a second, because I know I just painted a really dire picture of the situation.
Right.
And let's pause for a second.
If only there was someone to come in and save us and save the day.
Well, let's also pause for a second and remember, I have been trying to learn how to be really good at sales my entire life, and how to persuade and to influence my entire life. So I really painted the picture in a way that it feels bad. Like it feels bad.
You're putting the pain points out, right?
I'm pointing the pain points out. And the reason why I'm doing that is not to try to scare you away from this stuff, but it is to make sure that you know the reality of the situation of this stuff.
Right.
Because we're in the Wild West.
Oh yeah.
We're in the land of outlaws and cowboys, and people are shooting other people with pistols, and nobody gives a shit.
That's right.
If they do, it doesn't matter, because nobody, like, it is so crazy out here.
World of degens, right?
Totally. It's a world of degens. And I just want to give you the facts as I see them, because how many people really do that? Right? Like, how many people sit there and tell you truly what they're seeing in the marketplace, in the pain that's actually there?
Right.
Very few people. I want to be one of those people. I want to tell you what's really going on.
Absolutely.
As much as I know it. And so that's how we've arrived at this point. Now I want to pause for a second and say, at the end of the day, all of these problems, yes, they're problems. Yes, they're real. Yes, they're an issue. But there is a common thread. At the end of it all, it boils down to inefficiencies currently in the market. And so inefficiencies to the opportunist, to the entrepreneur, to the people that are paying attention, that means opportunity. Okay. When you're building a new technology, and you have a lot of people just saying, it's not going to work. You're full of shit. You know, all the haters, the people that, okay. A lot of times they'll say it's not going to work because of A through Z. And they actually just did you a service because they out all the places that you can bring solutions and bring value and create value in the marketplace.
Right.
Okay. So all these solutions here, they all need to be solved by really smart people, Joe, like yourself and all of your community. And so I want to propose a solution, and this is what we're doing. And just so you know, if somebody has a better solution, let's talk, because what we deserve as a community of people in blockchain and crypto in the metaverse, what we deserve is a meritocracy where the best ideas win because they're the best ideas. I don't give a fuck whose idea it is. I want the best idea.
Right.
Let's push it forward. Let's just get to the truth, right?
Absolutely.
Let's get to the best way. Okay. So this is how we've gone to solving these problems.
Okay.
At the core, we have built a new standard for NFTs called ERC 4610. And so right now, the dominant standard is ERC 721. And then kind of the runner-up is ERC 1155. And so we have built ERC 4610 as an upgrade to 721. So it's kind of like if ERC 721 is your phone, we're like an app that you install on your phone.
Okay.
So it's just like an upgrade to it.
Sure.
And so the reason we built it that way is, well, let me tell you what it does, and then I'll tell you the cool part about that. So at its core, what it does is it separates the ownership of the NFT from the utility of the NFT. These are now separated.
Okay.
And so what that means is, let's say you own the race car and you want me to race. You know, I'm a badass racer, super competitive. I got the racing chair here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make you money, right? So you need to be able to lend out the utility, in this case, the ability for me to race and generate revenue.
Interesting.
But you as the owner always have to keep that ownership.
Still maintain that. Yeah. Okay. I'm picking up what you're laying down.
That's what it does.
Cool.
It separates that. Now let's talk about how it does that.
Yeah.
So it is, like I said, basically an upgrade to ERC 721, which means not only can we mint new NFTs as ERC 4610, but we're backwards compatible with ERC 721.
Cool.
And you may be saying, oh, this is crazy technology. I'm sure you have like 10,000 patents on it and you're keeping it super closed behind locked doors. And I would say to you, actually, it's totally open source.
Nice.
It is a public good. And so if you want to see how it works, and it's very cool. And by the way, I'm not a technical, as far as I cannot program that level of sophistication. Right. I built like an ISS tracker where you could press a button and it would tell you where the International Space Station was at any point in time.
Man, it's pretty cool.
I thought it was cool, but it was about the, that's about the extent of the technical coding chops.
Sure.
So if you want to know technically how it works there and you're a technical person, check out the GitHub because it'll tell you exactly how it happens. Essentially, for layman's terms, it is a wrapping function where the original gets held in a smart contract.
Okay.
And the wrapped version or the derivative, that's the one that's being used.
Cool.
Okay. So just super high level. Don't want to get technical because I don't want to talk about things that I don't know about because that would make me an idiot and I don't want to be that. So at its base functionality, that is what it does. Cool part about being backwards compatible is basically any NFT we're now compatible with and it can work right from the get-go. The reason we wanted this to be open source was because it's very important to move the whole industry forward to use this sort of technology. And look, if there's a better one, let's use that.
Right.
I think this is the best one. I do. And so we've created that. And then, because I believe, as any entrepreneur should, that yes, we need to be creating a lot of value. We also, because of our hard work, should be capturing some of that value.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's how the world works. Actually, the world's not fair, but that's still how the world works, right? And the people who are the best at both creating and capturing value, they're the ones that are the most successful. Because think about it. If you just create a bunch of value, but you capture none of it, chances are, not every time, but more likely than not, your ability to continue to create value is diminished.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you create a ton of value and you capture a ton of value, but not more than you create, you capture only a part of what you create, you can then take that part that you capture and you can compound it forward and reinvest in the thing you're doing. And then you could do it even better.
Right.
Right. So don't let anybody tell you trying to grow your business or grow your revenue or, grow your stack or your bag. Like, that's always a good thing because it gives you the ability to do other good things.
Exactly.
And it's a tool that you can use to influence the world and bring it, make it how you see fit. And I'm hoping, we're not all fucking psychopaths and we want the world to be a better place. And so that's a function of how we do it.
Absolutely.
So we built on top of the open source software, ERC 4610, a couple of products. And basically, we have three main products. The first one is we have kind of like an IGO launch pad a little bit, but mostly we're just helping games launch their NFTs, their ERC 4610 NFTs to the right buyers. That's the function of that. It gives us a really good excuse to get in really early with games and to make sure that as they're going from building a fun game, building with blockchain, now putting in crypto, and now they have to think about rental. And now, we want to help guide them through that process. Don't fuck up unnecessarily.
Right.
The earlier we can get in there and work with games, the more we can share what we've learned and help them, help them go faster, make less mistakes, those sorts of things. Want to be really value add.
Yeah.
Then once they've launched, then we have two pieces of rental infrastructure. So we're talking about utility-based NFT rentals, AKA a scholarship program. And so we're building infrastructure for a scholarship program. And this is how we do it. We have two products there and to address this. The first is more of I like to call it a structured product.
Right.
So think of it as like a vault where if you're looking to rent NFTs, you can open up a vault on our platform, and you can specify which NFT you're looking to rent, how many, for how long, and what you're willing to pay for it.
Okay.
And so you set the terms up front, and then you can crowdsource those NFTs from everybody else on the platform.
Nice.
And so one really cool byproduct is it removes the need for one-to-one rentals. So, Joe, if you have 104 race cars and I need 105, well, before we couldn't really do business because now I have to track two different things and it's kind of complicated. I don't want to have multiple people. Now you don't have to fuck with that.
Right.
Now you can just open up your vault and you work with the platform and the platform does all the hard work there to make that really smooth.
Right. So it's really, it becomes a marketplace and it professionalizes and makes things succinct and clean and tidy kind of thing, instead of this kind of more scrappy way out. This is another project that we have on their platform, ColdNet. So it's a very similar idea we're talking about as far as like, they were, cleaning up and professionalizing, if you will, that interaction between projects and KOLs, right? So it's a similar, I'm getting a similar vibe where it's like creating and aggregating the NFTs, displaying it, like you said, to the market that cares the most, and allowing and really cleaning up this whole, like you said, the wild, wild west. Now all of a sudden we've got a nice, public saloon with a hostess and a waiter and everything.
That's right. And interestingly enough, that product's called the AFK aggregator. So you hit that nail right on the head. I mean, you're already there.
Right.
That's a structured one. We then have an unstructured product that functions more like a an NFT liquidity pool.
Okay.
Where you go in, you just throw your NFTs into the pool if you're the owner and you start earning interest from it.
Wow.
Or on the other side, you're renting from the pool and you're paying interest into it. And so it, again, removes the need for a direct peer-to-peer model, and it's more peer-to-pool and obviously pool-to-peer. And so the reason why it's important to have both is for the pool, some people just want the liquidity, they want the flexibility. And so they need the ability to get in and out as quickly as possible. And that serves their needs there.
Gotcha.
Maybe somebody wants to go on vacation for like 2 days and they're like, oh, I still want to earn interest on this because I want to juice my yield. And so they'll throw it 2 days, they'll go out and do what they want to do. They come back and they grab it from the pool and they keep playing themselves.
Right.
Or, you know, maybe a guild is trying to train a new cohort of players for a game, but in the meantime, they still want those assets to generate yield, so they just stick it in the pool for a little bit, train up their people, grab it from the pool, stick it to the people, and go. The structured product is probably, and look, I'm a big believer in I've been reading a lot about Steve Jobs lately, and based on my research and my reading, I believe he's credited with one of the ideas of an inventor doesn't need to know how the users of the product are going to use the product and what they'll create, but you just need to give them the tools.
Yeah.
So with the structured product, this is what I think is going to happen, and we're going to see what happens in the long run.
Right.
But this is what I think. I think the structured one's going to be more for guilds who either want to use it with their own players, and they just want to say, we don't want to build anything. We just want to go recruit a bunch of people, learn about games, train games. We just want, we want to run our guild through this tool. Or it's for guilds who they're just looking for consistency. They want to know exactly what their yield's going to be for exactly how long. And they want to know, like, they just want it to be tight. And they want to be structured. And they want to know this is exactly what's going to happen. And this is how it's going to happen, and so on and so forth. And so you could see why both are really important and why both are necessary, and they both have different use cases. But essentially, it is NFT, utility-based NFT rental infrastructure. And so now the games can, instead of having to build all that shit out, they just implement our solution, and in a couple of days, they're ready to rock.
It's awesome.
But for the guilds, instead of them having to fight this constant fight of trying to allocate capital effectively and not get burned and lose their capital and then, fuck themselves over for all time. Now, instead of having to outlay that capital up front, they can just rent. They can rent it, they can test it, they can see if they like it.
Right.
And they can buy it then, or they can just keep renting forever and they never have to incur that sort of risk.
Right.
Or that sort of liability of having to outlay that capital and hope. They can just always rent. So they can run a guild with zero assets of their own besides the recruiting arm to find new players and to train them, and obviously blah, blah, blah. So it solves so many problems.
Right.
And the cool part is it starts off with this whole layer of there's no need for trust because there's no issue of theft because of the separation of ownership and utility.
Right.
And so that's just the default, which, by the way, is how it should be. That's just the default.
Right.
And so that's what we do.
I love it.
That's how we make the metaverse more accessible. And by the way, if you're thinking about, oh, well, what happens if gaming becomes not as, what if that becomes not as big of a vertical?
Right.
First of all, if you're thinking about that, I would seriously check your thinking and look back and see, okay, is gaming going to go away? Probably not.
Oh, it's only getting bigger every year. It's crazy.
It's only getting bigger every year, of course. But then think about, okay, well, if this utility-based NFT rental infrastructure can be applied to the gaming space, what else can it be applied to?
Right. Right.
Anywhere that you need utility-based NFTs, which is the entire metaverse.
Right.
And that can then bleed over into the analog world too. Think about a gym membership. Right. Where you buy a utility-based NFT that comes with a membership.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
That's a great example. I own a gym. It's actually my main job.
there you go.
Yeah. We had talked. I'd seen some interesting proposals with that kind of stuff. A gym DAO, membership as an NFT, how that all works. There's a limited edition. It becomes really interesting to start to think about it. How it all, the whole functionality of it. Now from a perspective of, I have a bunch of NFTs in my wallet. I don't just get to go dump them all into the liquidity pool. There are going to be an approved list of projects, right, that I've already worked with you guys, set it all up, and they're now NFTs are compatible with the liquidity pools, right?
Totally. So the one stipulation right now, if you're looking for a catch, this is it. We prioritize ERC 4610. And so we're only going to work with, for now, those sorts of NFTs.
Okay.
Now we have, a list of games that we're working with that are already implementing it. The way we went about raising funds was going and raising from guilds and investors with a bunch of games and a bunch of guilds. And so they then lead us to more games.
Sure.
And so we're going game by game, adding them as quickly as we possibly can.
Cool.
And we're actually working with each game personally, individually. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to get every game ever built in.
Sure.
Eventually, they will not need, and right now they don't need to work with us directly. They can do everything on their own.
Right.
And the first thing we always say is, did you read the GitHub? If so, you could probably implement this on your own in 1 to 2 days, but we have dev relations and dev support and everything.
Right.
So the caveat is we have to keep executing to add in new games to make sure that the supply of NFTs that's available to be used on the platform always continues to grow. And we need to find the best games that are the most fun, that will be worth it for everybody to use.
Right.
So if you're looking for a catch, that's it.
So you're probably right now, you're going to be working with a lot of, startup groups, I'm sure, startup projects, that kind of thing. Do you have any alpha from conversations you have on any bigger names yet? Have you talked to any blue chip projects maybe yet? Or is that kind of all still in the works and not ready for that step yet?
So as much as I love to be that guy to be like, all right, here's secret sauce right here. You never know what's going to happen when you're going from, hey, we just had a really good call and everybody's juiced up and excited, to then you've done the work of implementing the NFTs or implementing the technology, and you've crossed that finish line.
Right.
Any number of ridiculous things and crazy shit can happen between here and here. And so
you don't want to drop it and then all of a sudden that fall through, and that
would be irresponsible. Like, I don't want to. I heard Warren Buffett say this time, and I thought, this is brilliant. It was either Warren Buffett or Mark Cuban, one of those two. One of them said, maybe Cuban. He said, I don't want to give you a specific tactic or action right now, because if I have to change my mind, you know what? It was Ray Dalio. If I change my mind because new facts present themselves, and then I come back and say, hey, I changed my mind. First of all, I'm probably not going to be able to tell all the people in the beginning that acted on that initially. Right. I'm not going to be able to tell them the new information, and it may be too late. And then I look like an asshole that's misleading people.
Right.
I just can't do that.
Okay, I appreciate the integrity, man. I'm not just trying to bring the hype and everything. That is good of you. It's always refreshing to find, like I said, people with integrity in this space who, like you said, you're trying to build something great, not just trying to build hype and pump and dump, like you said. So appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely understand that.
Right on.
Yeah, well, you totally, fill this in on a lot of stuff there. I feel like I have a really good, concept of what you guys are doing. Now from a perspective of, I guess, the building the actual product or, project itself, if you had any unique kind of challenges in talking to people, like I mean, is convincing projects that they need you a challenge in and of itself? Or like you said, like, oh, we can implement this ourselves and we don't need you. Like what's something you might be facing right now that you're having trouble overcoming?
I think the biggest thing is you need to consistently go out and you got to find the people that need your help.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to show them that you're the right person that can help them, or the
Right.
right group that can help them. And then they need to realize that. And then they also need to be able to devote the time and energy to fix it with you.
Right.
And so it's a very fun thing because I love talking to games. And so that is probably the biggest challenge, but it's fun. It's like a fun, it's an exciting thing. I love talking to games. That's,
Yeah.
That's part of the fun. It's, one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much. But finding the best games and getting to have that conversation with them at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're too far down the rabbit hole of building with a certain technology, then getting them to change the technology, it may not work. Like if there's a certain burn mechanic that they have to have, but that's not conducive to renting.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you own something and you rent it to somebody else and they use that thing to like breed with another NFT and those things are destroyed and there's a new one, well, how do you resolve that?
Yeah.
Who owns that there?
Who owns it? Do you have to wrap it? When do you wrap it? At what point? Yeah.
Right.
All these
Exactly.
things, all these new complications. Yeah.
That's right. And so finding the right games at the right time
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest challenge.
Right.
But once we do find them, then it's smooth sailing and it's
Right.
it's amazing.
Cool.
So that's probably the biggest challenge, but anything worth doing is a challenge at some level.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Well, cool. I mean, I said I got a good handle on your project. I think I've heard some awesome stuff tonight. If there anything else you want to share with us, please let me know. But I'd be happy to have more conversations with you guys in the future. We're looking forward to having you guys on our platform. Always looking for, like I said, one thing I love about doing these interviews is seeing the faces behind the product, seeing the faces behind the project. And it's because it's more than just, you see all the pictures, you see the website, you see whatever, but once you get to know who's building behind it and who's doing it in it, I always come away from these things with more confidence in the project because I'm like, these are real people that are passionate about what they're doing, excited for the future, believe in crypto and in blockchain. It always kind of reinvigorates me and kind of reinforces my beliefs in it too. So I appreciate all the time and the effort and appreciate your contributions to the space and to blockchain, to crypto, to gaming, and the whole thing. So yeah, man, we appreciate your team and we're excited to have you guys on board.
Hell yeah, appreciate you, my man. Two things I want to leave off with.
Absolutely.
The first one is I want to highly encourage everybody that's listening right now to think, it might be three things, to think of your life in a certain way. This is how I live my life. This is my philosophy. Everything in your life can be understood and categorized as one, as a mixture of the 7 core disciplines of life. I remember them by the acronym SIPFIRE, SIPFIRE, SIPFIRE. Spiritual, intellectual, physical, financial, industrial, relational, and emotional. Everything in your life, no matter what, can be organized into one of those 7 categories. If
Sure.
you think of something that can't be, let me know, please, because I got to know that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It changes the game.
It's a book waiting to happen right there.
But I bet you can't think of one. Every single day, your goal should be to grow at least a little bit or improve at least a little bit in all those 7 core disciplines. If you are stuck somewhere, chances are by outlining which in those 7 core disciplines are your most important things. So maybe you say spiritually, my thing is meditation. Industrially, my thing is working on my business or working on my gym or being a salesperson, and that's my profession, or whatever it is. If you're struggling somewhere in your life or you're like blocked somewhere, a lot of times it's because you're actually blocked somewhere else and it's coming over and it's fucking you up over here when really you need to be addressing it over there. So like maybe you're not meditating enough and that's why you're not making enough sales. It's because you're like, you got all this. So you need to, okay. So think of your life in that. What I would encourage you to do on the financial side is to constantly and only be obsessed with accumulating assets that pay you without you having to fuck with them.
Mhm.
This is the dream called passive income, right? But truly, there are assets that exist that will pay you when you have to do nothing. How you get there, which assets they are, and how you accumulate them, that's up to you.
Mhm.
But think of it in that way. Accumulate the assets with capital, a lot of times money, that you work for.
Mhm.
When you trade your time for money, as you probably will have to in the beginning, use that money to buy assets. Everything else that you want to buy, all the shit that's not, necessary. So I'm thinking like, super minimalist. You have to have a place to live. You have to have food. You have to have water, insurance,
Sure.
the fucking basics. Anything outside of that, and eventually you want your passive income, like the cash flow from your assets, you want that to cover all that because that's true financial freedom. But anything else that you want to buy that does not have to be bought, only buy that with income you did not have to trade your time for.
Hmm.
Only buy that extra shit with passive income. And I wouldn't do that until the passive income first covers all of your living expenses. And then the above and beyond can go to buying the extra shit.
Yeah.
If you do that, I promise you will be wealthy.
Love
That's what I
that.
promise to you. Now it's fucking hard, but do that. Okay.
Love that.
Those are the two things. 7 core disciplines, then trade your earned income for assets that generate
Okay.
cash flow and use that cash flow to buy the extra shit that you don't absolutely need.
Oh yeah.
The absolute last thing is I think there should be a gym DAO where the only people that can make any sort of comments or have any sort of voice are the people that have actually done the work of existing at a gym and working out. And it should be
Yeah.
measured by some sort of like, how many pounds did you lift, or how many reps did you do, or
Sure.
how often did you show up?
Right.
And the people that show up at the gym and take selfies and go home should get 0 or negative points. And they do not get to decide what happens to the people that actually rip it at the gym.
Love it. Love it.
Thank you for having a gym and making people healthier.
Of course, man. Absolutely. It's been a grind, but wouldn't trade it for the world, man. It's been a blast too. So yeah, man, no, those are some fantastic points. I'm definitely, that's how I'm looking at. I got a NFT project I'm pretty heavy in right now, that it's the same idea, is that it's this, you're building assets that are like, these are going to be working for me, and that's the idea. And people, are still not quite, the normies, so to speak, right? The people who are outside of crypto and they don't get it, they don't understand it. It's like, look, we live in a digital world, and that's just only going to get more and more. And like you said, things exist digitally now, and there has to be a way to own them and to use them. And this is the way. This is how it's going to happen. So love to see it. Love to see the adoption. Love to see projects like you and like you guys, and you know, people putting in the work to make it all happen. So we appreciate you, man. And thanks for chatting, and awesome interview, awesome chat. So we'll definitely be talking to you guys soon.
Thank you, Joe. You're the
Of
man.
course, man. Thank you.